Face Off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams. Ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face Off on Fox Soul starts right now.
I think Kanye is a clone. I wholeheartely believe what I'm about to say. I think there are clones, and I'm going to tell you why. Remember, he was really talking a lot. The cabal didn't like that, you know? The Illuminati, the cabal, they did not like how much he was saying. He was calling a lot of people out, and he said, if I go away and I come back and I look different, that is not me.
If I ever went anywhere, we'd know why.
What happened? He was gone.
He did that because he wanted to gain weight. I would do that too. I'm going to do that next summer.
Look at him. Compare old photos of him. It's not the same person. It's not. Don't cancel me, Hollywood.
How do you think that these people would hide that, Kristen? If somebody tried to clone you, I would scream it from the top of the mountains like that's not Kristen.
You literally will get killed.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I believe this with every ounce in my body.
You think that you could make one of the biggest pop stars in the world just disappear and nobody would come forward?
The people who are going to come out and say something get killed.
There's weird happening, but some of it's too far.
In this round, here's Quan LX.
Charles, we just watched a podcast show where Miss Kristen Cavallari, I believe her name is, was interviewing a gentleman, and she was saying some of the most outlandish, craziest things that anybody could even fathom. She was speaking that she believes personally that Kanye West is a clone. And there are some people who believe that possibly this is true because in some parts of these undeveloped nations, illegal cloning activities are taking place. And if you can clone animals, then you absolutely can clone human beings. In fact, a man right here in Montana, in America, just 2 weeks ago, in the state of Montana, was convicted by the federal government for cloning animals illegally. And he also said he had the ability to also clone a human being, that he had thought about it. So there's some who believe in this foolishness. I don't believe in it. I think it's madness. I think it's crazy. But it's not so far-fetched that it could not happen.
No, it's very clear that the ability to clone human beings is we've had it on the planet. You've seen more activity in China than elsewhere, but they could most certainly be growing, fields of human hearts, human livers, human kidneys. They could be doing all kind of stuff that many people feel trample on the toes of God, right? But when famous celebrities say nonsense like this, because this is nonsense, I think they're just trying to, or semi-famous, I think they're trying to get attention to their podcast, right? There's no barrier to entry with podcasts. It's just about podcasting. It's just about building up a snowball of clients, like many online businesses, like OnlyFans or anything. It's just about getting enough people paying a little money every month or listening, clicking the ads. And you do that in the talk radio and the podcast space by saying crazy stuff, right? Not saying crazy stuff you believe. You pander to people. You say crazy stuff. You get people talking. Here we are talking about her stupid podcast that we would not be talking about, but for her saying, oh, yeah, hey, Kanye's a clone. Look, Kanye went off the rails when his mom died.
But
he's gained a bunch of weight. He's a narcissist and a weirdo.
But a part of the reason why we have to talk about her podcast is because everything you said about these podcast commentators and co-hosts and hosts is true. But they are now superseding in viewership than regular television programs.
Right.
So
clearly,
you can no longer just ignore them now.
No, but you can explain why she would
We wish the content was better policed and properly vetted, but
this
now
is a 30 year ago, she was a star of some MTV reality show, like Laguna Beach maybe or something.
Yeah, I didn't watch that.
And then she married a famous athlete.
I was watching Good Times.
Okay, this was about 10 years later.
She married a brother?
No, she married a white quarterback. I think she was married to Matt Stafford.
He got rid of a quick.
One of those. No, I think
he got him a nice one now.
I don't know which. She married some quarterback, but she, look, she's just trying to get attention. We talked about this during the prep meeting. We should be talking about this lawsuit against Kanye, right? Where a former OnlyFans star who looks like she was heavily involved in the sex industry, then became
she was a porn star.
She became. She did a lot of things.
And OnlyFans sexual a woman or man that has an OnlyFans page that's selling sexual content of themselves is a porn star.
I think that she did other things for I think she worked on an album. I think she worked on costuming. I think
but she's claiming sexual harassment.
Right, but she is saying that at some point at a party, she was sexually assaulted because she was slipped a Mickey, given a drug cocktail, which we apparently are finding out that was possibly something Sean Diddy Combs was doing, and there are allegations floating around out there that Kanye West was doing the same thing. Obviously a horrible thing, obviously rape. And the fact that
why is it she kept working for him after this?
Well, she's saying...
And she kept taking his money after that. And it wasn't until she got fired by him that she started making these allegations.
Okay. Initially, she's saying she quit, and then he fired her and never paid her money that he owed her.
And he owed her how much? She said he owed her?
I think it's $1 to $3 million, $4 million.
$4 million. Right. And how much her lawsuit against him is?
$4 million.
Let's keep it moving, brother.
Okay, but hold on.
Hello.
Hold on. One, she's saying she did not realize. She thought she just got overly drunk at a work event, right? But now she's under the impression that she was drugged. She did not realize that they hooked up.
With no facts.
She doesn't realize that they hooked up until apparently he allegedly told her. But she does have facts. She has him saying
that she was drugged.
She has him saying all kind of crazy stuff.
No, but wait a minute though. She has revealed some of her text messages to her counsel. But I would like to see what his text message show. What was she sending him? Because she's saying that he was sharing sexual content in text messages and sexual pictures in his messages to her. And she also alleges that he was sending videos of him having sex with other models to her. But I want to know what she sent to him. Now, if that was a one-way street and he's sending all of that to her and she was not sending that stuff back, then she is being sexually harassed and he should be held accountable. But don't tell a one-sided story. Let's hear the whole story and come to a conclusion.
Well, I mean, when her lawyer files a petition, it is typically a one-sided story. That's the purpose. He's advocating for his client. Kanye will have lawyers advocating for his. But there was some examples, right? And she's claiming there was a lot of vulgar text, graphic pictures.
The porn star.
There was, but simply because you worked in, there's so many people in that industry now, again, no barriers to entry, that it doesn't mean that everything you say is untrue or that you should be amenable to sexual assault.
But you're the porn star being sexually harassed by your employer and you don't complain after you get fired.
Here's a quote. See, my problem is I be wanting to F, but then after I F, I want a girl to tell me how hard they've been F'd while I'm F'ing them. Then I want her to cheat on me.
Sound like he's sick.
I mean,
that's like a sick cat.
Kanye.
But I do want to know.
Got a problem.
But I want to know what was her response to that and what was she texting him before that?
You know, I mean, she's claiming that all kind of crazy stuff. And that's what we should be talking about, not Kristen Cavallari saying nutty, stupid, dishonest stuff.
But cloning is real. We can't deny that, brother. Unfortunately, we may not like it, but it's real. It's happening in the world.
Okay.
Multiplication. Here's the other problem with the church is that anytime a person is in need, y'all go to running and dropping money. But let me tell you something, the poor will be with you always. And there is no blessing connected to blessing the poor other than getting back what you gave to them, but no multiplication. Multiplication is segregated for tithes and offering. When you give to the poor, the only thing you do is help them, but you don't help yourself.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
Okay, that's a Houston area megachurch pastor, Keon Henderson. And I don't know what megachurch used to mean just the one biggest church in town, and now it seems like we throw that term around pretty liberally. You had told me during the break that Keon is married to Shaquille O'Neal's ex-wife and has some prominence. I've never heard of him, but I do typically ignore prosperity doctrine preachers, right? I have read the Bible stem to stern a couple of times. I am interested in the concept of religion and the way it is used to take advantage of so many people and market it to people in a pretty awful way, and I don't think it can be reconciled with the words attributed specifically to Jesus. But what you basically have this guy saying, look, hey, look, you can help poor people, and that's good stuff, and you might get it back, and hey, but if you want to have multiplication, if you want to get rich on God, you need to give me money. That's basically what you can reduce everything he said to, and it's absolutely disgusting. And I'm not a fan of prosperity doctrine. I think that from the biggest churches to the smallest ones that push that, instead of pushing doing good deeds and good works, I think it's all about the pastor lining his or her pockets, and I think it's really profane.
You know, Charles, I listened to that clip over and over again, maybe 3 to 4 times, because what I didn't want to do is be a part of a mass choir of those condemning Pastor Henderson without thoroughly examining his words. And when I examined his words, some of it I want to try to put in context. What he was saying is that when you give to the poor, that is still a good deed. But don't be a part of this new growing crowd in America that's saying, okay, I don't have to pay tithes to the church anymore. I just give my money straight to the poor, when that's not what the biblical teachings says. It's not a here nor there, it's an and in both. We should feed the poor. We should shelter the homeless and clothe the naked. But at the same time, maintaining the financial stability and maintenance of the house of worship is a believer's responsibility also. So I think he was speaking directly to that crowd that wants to say, no longer maintain the house and churches anymore. Forget that. Let's just give our money straight to the poor, when that does not negate or give you the right to say, okay, I'm going to do for the poor but not for the church. You got to do for both.
We've all seen these pastors riding around in Rolls Royces, living in mansions, flying private. And, you know, I think Jesus was unequivocal about his position on temples. I think he was very clear about his position on wealthy men. I think he was very clear about what he would have thought about the modern iterations of Christianity that are seen in the prosperity doctrine. I think it would be very, very negative. Jesus was at best a socialist, right? And he was focused, if you believe that everything that's attributed to him in the Bible, he was focused on the good deeds, on the good acts, on the salvation, on changing people. Whereas I don't think we at all get that sense from many modern churches. And sometimes
in what is called the prosperity gospel.
And sometimes they say the quiet part out loud. And I think this was this pastor saying, hey, stop doing charity, give me the money, right? And I think you can prepackage it, but also,
no, I think what he was saying
organized
was,
religion as a whole.
Don't give to the poor if you think that allows you to negate your responsibility
I don't think you
to
have
the
to
church
think about what he was saying. He said it directly. But when you look at churches,
I think a mistake that he made, Charles, he became a little emotional and he was upset that this
I think you're giving him way too much credit. This is a greedy con artist
in the church, that no longer do you have to financially maintain the church, just give to the poor.
It is the most
and God
brilliant con ever
equal.
Created, and it's been visited upon millions, billions of people around this world for centuries, right? But the prosperity doctrine has taken it to the highest level. It is, hey, if you want to be successful, if you want to be rich, you need to give my church money. And look, if you don't get rich and successful from giving my church money, it's not my fault for not delivering what I promised you, but instead your fault for not believing enough and not giving enough. Give me some more. It's a great con, and you can repackage that bull crap all you want, but it don't make it any less bull crap. Right?
I will say
he is selling lies to gullible people.
I think the modern day downfall of the church and the modern day loss of the moral sense of shame in America is because we stopped teaching what was biblically correct and started teaching what was politically correct and teaching prosperity gospel. Get rich now or die trying, like 50 Cent's album said.
Well,
we have to get
50
back.
50 Cent wasn't pushing the prosperity gospel.
But the concept is the same thing that's in many churches now. I'm going to get rich or die preaching trying. And that's what we have to get away from. We got to get back to saving souls instead of saving and ripping off pocketbooks. I agree with you on that.
But the truth is, you see some of these pastors hit that lick, make that money, then all of a sudden they get caught running around, they get divorced, they're buying Lamborghinis for the wife they cheated on, they're doing all this, or the wives are getting thrown off planes for being rude to flight attendants. I mean, we live in this world where we don't expect biblical behavior from people trying to teach us the Bible.
These men and women of God are still human beings.
Yeah, but you're supposed to be a shepherd. You're supposed to set a higher standard.
And they are fallible human beings.
No,
and
they're con artists.
As a shepherd, you set a higher standard. Look, you hold yourself to that standard, and you don't make excuses why you don't live up to it.
There are plenty of earnest, sincere religious people and religious leaders, right, But the ones we're talking about, the ones on the camera all the time, the ones with all the money, the ones with the high fashion, the ones with, what is the biggest house in Louisiana is owned by a pastor?
I heard something.
The people all doing this crap, the one that used their COVID money, relief money to buy private jets, so then they got the tax deduction that Trump baked in. These are bad people, and no one wants to say they're bad people that are conning people because they don't want the vitriol or the hatred of the people that follow these pastors ignorantly, right? But when you're running game, when you're running con, when you're pushing the prosperity doctrine, you're a scumbag.
Could have been a
Jesus
little more
don't mess with that.
In his exegesis of an understanding of what he was giving to them.
Man, when you use the words like exegesis, I know you're full of crap.
It needed a better exegesis of an explanation to explain to them that you got to do both. You can't just do one and not the other.
No, what we need is we don't need to give greedy people pulpits, right? We don't need people that aren't religious pretending that they are.
You give to the church.
Just
Don't
like
worry
all
about
the
the man.
conservative
But you can't focus on the man and stop giving to the church too.
We need to stop listening to liars.
But you can't focus on not giving to the man and say, I'm not going to give to the church, Charles.
In today's Face-Off, Up.
Now forfeiting its match against San Jose State. This in protest of a transgender woman on the roster. Claudia Cowan's got the story from Sausalito, California there. Claudia?
Hey, Bill, good morning. Nevada school officials say this game on October 26th will go on as scheduled, but the players say they won't show up.
University of Nevada Reno's women's volleyball team is the 5th to forfeit a match against San Jose State, which has a roster that includes a player named Blair Fleming. According to a lawsuit against the NCAA, Fleming is a male. What's more, the lawsuit alleges school officials told the players to, quote, not speak about Fleming's sex or gender identity with anyone outside the team. That didn't sit well with Fleming's roommate and team co-captain Brooke Slusser, who has joined that federal lawsuit to protect women in sports. Slusser says Fleming's spikes are so powerful they could seriously injure other players. And she says it isn't fair for a biological man to take a scholarship spot away from a female athlete.
I was honest with Blair from day one. I don't agree with this, and I'm not going to hate on what you choose to do with your life personally, but in volleyball, I just can't stand for that.
Yeah, this is Nevada. So you had 5 teams forfeit. A couple of them after a San Diego State Aztecs player was injured from a hard spike to the face by this player. The volleyball player's roommate and teammate, you heard that? How would you like to send your daughter off to college?
That's what caught me.
And
roommate.
So you're sharing a locker room. There was a lot of talk about Leah Thomas, the Penn swimmer, who, remember, all those swimmers were threatened if they said anything publicly, right? Was apparently, allegedly very aggressive with her penis in the locker room, putting it in inappropriate. And the thing is, there's no amount of reasonability. Now, you are very quick to jump on and attack trans people and homosexual people. You're incredibly homophobic. That's very true.
Put that lie on me at all.
But the thing is, what your rhetoric, and the rhetoric to the people that share your viewpoint, and the rhetoric on the people on the opposite end of the spectrum, what they're doing is muting all the reasonable people. And it's not reasonable for that man to look like a 6'2", 6'3", muscular person. And they can identify as a woman all they want, but they're still hitting with the ball with the force of a male.
And they still have the muscular makeup of a man.
You had a high school kid last year get a concussion and I think lose a tooth from a spike from a player born male that identified. And at some point, we need to be reasonable. Nevada comes out, and after their players vote to forfeit, the university comes out, and that's why they're the F-up of the day. They come out, and they say the university and athletic programs are governed by the Constitution. The players' decision statements were made independently and without consultation with the university. They basically reject these girls' decision to forfeit, and they refer to the Nevada Constitution that they now have a protection against people for orientation or gender identity.
So who's making these decisions, Charles?
Well, people are afraid of getting sued and losing.
Wait a minute, Charles. What? I don't think no Nevada administrative official with the school administration, he can't be a father with daughters. What
not
father?
Everybody's a father.
What father would
It's
a
not
daughter?
always men running stuff.
But what about? I don't
And
see
then
what father.
There's plenty of people that support
Charles,
this.
I don't
and
know
I think
a
it's
mother.
people that don't compete
I don't know
for
a
things.
mother that wants her child, her female child, competing against a male
But it's very
in a
easy.
physical
It's
sport,
very
Charles.
easy to be a woke, militant person when you've never competed for a prize in your life in a physical activity.
But what
Like
father wants his daughter competing with a man?
Look, there are plenty of
What
people
mother
that
wants
don't.
that for her daughter?
And that's the thing, is people aren't caring about these hardworking Americans who are women. And I had a daughter that played a lot of sports and who physically can't compete with men, and all that sexist.
I'm not going to watch it
We're
like that.
designed differently.
I think it was a good thing for them to forfeit the game.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's a shame that they had to, Charles.
Right. Well, it's not just them. It was, I think it was Utah State, Southern Utah. There was multiple schools that have, 5
So
schools,
what
I think,
happens
in
when a
total.
man wants to join a wrestling team of girls and a man wrestle female girls?
And less reasonable people.
Come on, man.
Stop saying, hey, look, I'm all for people living their lives how they want, but they don't need to trample other people's lives and spaces. And we got to stop pretending that we didn't create girls' leagues for no reason. There's a reason little girls have their own sporting leagues and don't play with the boys. There's a reason women have their own leagues and don't play with the boys. Venus Williams was very clear when they were, why don't you call her the best and this and that? And she was very clear. She said, hey, look, I don't know if it's Serena or Venus, but I'm great at tennis. But if I played Andy Murray, he would beat me in 5 minutes, 6-0, 6-0, because it's a different game. And when you have the best, the Michael Jordan, those two sisters, clearly the Jack Nicklaus, the Michael Jordan, the GOAT of that sport, right? But even they recognize that they are the women's GOAT of the sport, because men play it differently.
That they're not physically superior to men in the same
And we've
sport.
got to stop pretending. And people say, well, volleyball's not a contact sport.
But what does it
Absolutely
say?
not
But what does
true.
it say about a country that's going crazy like that?
Well, I mean,
forcing our young girls to play physically competition
In
sports
fairness,
against men.
The Western world was still prosecuting people for being gay a few decades ago. So this is the swing back, and now we got to get right in the middle.
That's it for the Face Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.